Well, it's week 3 of the LCS with coverage brought to you by Aliumer. I'm joined by a face I have not seen in some time. A man who also, like me, has long hair. That's Broxah joining CLG. It's the first day that he's competing in the LCS. So, Broxah, first off, I want to talk about the game. But before I get into all that, how are you? Because I feel like it's just this annual thing now where I talk to you after you finally get here and we chat about it. So, how you been?
Yeah, this actually, I just got flashbacks to our first interview last year,
Yeah, I
which we
remember you in the
started like the
TL
same
apartment,
way.
and you're
Like,
like,
Broxah, you just got here. How are you?
"Yes, exactly, exactly." So it's funny to throw back to that. No, but how legitimately, how are you?
Yeah, so um, this last week of time it's been really crazy for me. There has been a lot going on behind the scenes with my visa, not only this last week, but just in general, the past 1, 2 months, I guess. And due to some of the corona restrictions in Denmark, it kept getting delayed and delayed and delayed, and then um, all of a sudden, uh, last Wednesday last week, it was finally possible for us to move on and for something to happen. Like I waited around 2 months um, to actually be able to get my visa into and for the process to move on, and then things started happening really fast from there. Um, when I like at first we were hoping that I would receive my visa in time for me to travel on Monday, I think it was. And then I didn't get it, so we had to move my flight. I traveled on Tuesday. The second I had the passport, I went to Copenhagen, slept at a hotel, woke up at 3 a.m., jumped on the flight, and now I've been here for like 2 days. I think just around 48, 50 hours right now. And it has been pretty wild, honestly. Got into scrims and everything pretty much straight away. Haven't really slept much. The good old jet lag struggle, but all in all, I feel like I've been pumped with adrenaline. Just happy that I finally made it here, because seeing the team play all those games without me it was a bit tough for my mental state. But I went through it last year, so I had a bit of experience already, but it doesn't really make it much easier.
Well, and that's what I was gonna say. Is like I assume it must have just been so weird because it's just like it's all happening again. You're watching your team play without you, and like obviously the team was underperforming in the same way or similar ways to the way TL was underperforming last year. So, yeah, I could only imagine what that was like for you. Well, either way, it's great to have you back. Um, how let's talk about the game against C9 because I think a lot of people did not expect that game to go the way that it did. An unfortunate loss for you guys at the end, but a lot of back and forth and even some decent leads by CLG throughout it. So I don't know. I know it's just been moments after, but your first game. What are your initial reactions on sort of immediate feelings on CLG and having played with them in that game just now?
So usually I'm the type of player who takes losses pretty hard, but I think this one is mostly just bittersweet, honestly, because there were so many really small things that we could have done differently in that game, whether it was small mechanical things in fights or especially when it comes to small changes in how we played the macro once we could actually push our lead. And the feeling that I'm sitting with right now if we had just a few more days of scrimming together, or if I could have arrived just a bit earlier, and if we could have um, you know had more of a chance to discuss some of those points and actually be on the same page as a team in some of those aspects. Like we just needed something really small, and we would have come out on top today. So it feels kind of bad, but at the same time, everyone expected us to get completely stomped by C9 today because their first place, we're last. I'm coming in, been here for 2 days, so if you look at it from that perspective, like it's pretty insane that we almost won. Like they should have a pretty big advantage playing together for so long. Um, so pretty mixed feelings, but it mostly feels bittersweet.
Well, what is your take on, and what was it like for you as you were sort of seeing the switch from Pobelter to RJS? Because Obviously, that happened while you were sitting on the sidelines. So, what has sort of been your impressions? I don't know if you were able to kind of glean any insight into how that all went down.
Yeah, so um, I was surprised at first, like many others, hearing um, RGS being promoted and Pobelter uh, spending some time on the academy team. Um, I think one of the things I've disliked the most from what I've seen publicly is people saying it's due to Pobelter having a bad attitude or whatever it might be. I don't know where that really comes from. There's a limit to how much I've been able to talk to him now. Like I stayed somewhat in touch with the team from Denmark, but like last year on CL, he was like a cheerleader for us in a way. He was, creating so much hype before games, and he was really great to have around. So that accusation I can deny pretty quickly. But yeah, um, I I wasn't sure what to think about it at first. It's always a bit, I don't know if it's scary necessarily, but it feels a bit weird when um, a, a new player, like RGS is not a new player in that sense, but I guess you could say he's a new mid laner, is being promoted and you don't really know what to expect. But ultimately, I just, trust our coaching staff in doing what they think is right, because um, I know Pobelter pretty well as a player. I don't know RGS that well, and they deemed that putting RGS on the main team, trying him out for the main team, um, you know, could create something positive for us. So, and despite us being 1-6, RGS has played pretty well, and a, a lot of these games were so close. Like, I can think like the C9 game was very close. There was two other games that the team could have won. I don't want to say fairly easily, but where we definitely should have won. So, I think most of all, um, the problem hasn't really been individual play. There's been some macro team play related errors.
Yeah. I was, as you were talking about this, I was just kind of thinking, do you have, because so much of this is like a repeat of what happened last year, I'm curious if there are things that you've thought about where you're like, okay, I've been in this situation before, showed up late, team has been at, I know that it seems like there's just a few things that could have won these games, but right, like team is still in a pretty bad state in the standings. um so do you feel like, oh, I have ideas on how to do this differently than I did it before, or how to turn this around, or do you think they're just two separate situations? I don't, maybe the lessons from last year don't feel applicable to this year.
I think to an extent they are pretty similar. I definitely hope we're going to turn things around faster this year, because last year we were literally saved by the fact that the standings got wiped coming into summer, and that everyone started at 0-0. That's not gonna happen this time. Like, because last year we didn't have a fun time in spring, right? And starting at 0-0, we just got a full reset going into summer. That's not gonna happen this time around. But I did see last year that even though we were kind of struggling in the beginning. I think we needed like 2 months, 3 months before we started really playing well as a team. And then in the regular split, we looked like the best team in NA. And I think it's going to be kind of the same this time, where we need some time. And I hope we're not going to need as much time, and we just need to try to speed up the process as much as we can and get some wins along the way. Because um, I think last year I came into the team with the mindset that I really wanted to be the hero. I wanted to come in and make the big plays, and I got punished for that like 3 minutes into my first game, where I went for a really aggressive play and died on Lee Sin, and then I was like, oh god, this is this is not what my mindset should be like. So now I think I'm just trying to take it one step at a time, and I'm gonna do what I can to push the team forward and in different aspects, but without getting too over eager and without telling myself that I need to go ham and be the hero, because I don't think that mindset is gonna work. I learned that last year. Just need to, you know, take it a bit slow and just grow as a team.
I wanted to link, you said being the hero, and it reminded me right now of something that hopefully we can get shown up on in this. But I don't know if you saw the picture that was on on the CLG subreddit. It's the resolution's a little small, so I don't know if I could if it'll look good in the video, but I'll link it to you on our messenger right now. But did you see this when you were on your way over here? I don't know if you checked it out.
I'm gonna... Oh yeah, I did see this. This one is really, really funny.
Yeah. I should shout out Peter Nar, I guess, on the CLG subreddit who did this. But it's clear, I think, that a lot of CLG fans were hoping for a hero, and I think maybe you're making sure that your mind is in the right set. But it's good to hear that at least that you're here and you're ready to play. To that end, I did just want to ask you about your setup right now, because obviously you're not in the training facility where I think a lot of the other players are. So how are you dealing with this? Obviously, there's quarantine stuff in the US. So how are you handling it?
Yeah. Well, first to just drop a last comment on the hero stuff. Like, obviously, I am hoping that I can, make a difference and play really well. But I think most of all, I'm just trying to be more realistic, because I know it's just gonna take some time. And right now, most of these other players and teams have been playing every day as a team for 1.5 months, and I have been playing for 2 days, and there's a pretty big difference between playing solo queue and playing in a team environment. All of them have a lot of stage games.
Yeah, but you're playing an EU solo queue, which is possibly better than North American scrims. I don't know.
I think that can be pretty heavily argued, but it's just a bit of a catching up game. So
yeah,
I think that's the main thing there. When it comes to the situation, I mean, I'm in quarantine right now. I'm quarantining in my room in LA, just staying inside my room all day long, chilling, getting flashbacks to quarantine in China, although it's not, it's not as extreme. Still quarantine and all, but it feels a bit different this time. Feels pretty exciting too, because I mean, I am quarantined, but I'm, staying in the house that I'll be staying at these next many months, and trying out some interesting LA food again. Feels a bit weird not being with my team at the office, but generally speaking, it feels pretty good right now. I might feel like I might start going crazy in like a week when I've just been locked inside here for a long time, but
yeah,
for now I'm fine.
Well, I mean, we don't have enough time to get into the specifics of it, but my hope would be that perhaps after a couple clear COVID tests, you can get out. Maybe it won't be a 14-day quarantine like it was in China. I don't know. But either way, Broxah, thank you so much for the interview. Is there anything you want to say to any of the fans who I'm sure are just so happy to see you competing in the LCS again?
Yeah, well, there's been a lot of fans that's always supporting me and, having my back, telling me how excited they are to see me play on CLG, believing in me, believing that I can lead this team to victory, lead them far. And as I mentioned earlier, it's all going to be a bit of a work in progress, because we are behind compared to a lot of the other teams who've been playing together for a long time. But I'm also pretty confident in my own abilities, and from what I've seen so far with this team, I have a pretty good feeling. So even though some people have said that this is a big downgrade for me, so far I don't really feel that way. Like, it sucks we are at the bottom of the standings, but that's the reason I decided to join CLG, and I think with time we can make a difference. We can make it pretty far. Yeah. So yeah, thanks for the support to all my fans, to all the welcoming CLG fans, and thanks to Travis for having me as well, and for making it clear that I'm not the only one with a very long hair and now.
Yeah, no, I mean, I was able to get a haircut in the fall, and then it got really bad here in the winter, and I guess they've lifted some of it, so I could maybe try to go get one. But now I'm kind of curious just to see how insane I can end up looking. Either way, thanks so much, Broxah. Looking forward to seeing you continue to play, and great to have you back in the LCS. For everyone else, you can check out the rest of my coverage of all things LCS right here on my YouTube channel. Did you know that Alienware actually gives me a ton of free reign to say how I want to promote their products and allows me to make really unique outros? And so I'm going to just say, by the way, you can go check out their stuff in the description, but I think they would not mind if I just took a little bit of a different tack this time and said, thank you to Alienware, but also, why don't you go, if you enjoyed this interview, tweet at the player that was in it and say something nice about something that you thought was interesting, or maybe something you've enjoyed about their play recently, because I think in the space that we are all in, sometimes it's a lot easier to criticize than to praise, and I don't know if people realize how nice it is to sometimes just see a nice message from somebody. So again, if you enjoyed this interview or there was something that you thought was quite fun about it, go ahead and hit up the player and let them know. I'm sure they'd appreciate hearing you say that. Let's just go hit them up on Twitter or Instagram or anywhere else.